Joe Biden has emerged after the Democrats' humiliating defeat to carry out the final weeks of his presidency. But it seems he's not leaving the White House quietly. Joe Biden made his biggest announcement in a long time yesterday, and it has a lot of people very scared. The president has given the all clear for Ukraine to use US-supplied missiles in their war against Russia, which Sky News contributor Joe Siracusa says is absolutely reckless and a mistake.
Just while I've got you, Joe, reports the Biden administration has given approval for Ukraine to use American weapons to strike deeper into Russia. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely reckless. President Biden has shown a Russophobe hatred of Russia for the past 10 years, and he hasn't talked to Biden. He hasn't talked to President Putin, I think, in about 2.5 years. Look, it's a mistake, to give the Ukrainians this authority so close to what I think are going to be diplomatic negotiations and a settlement here. I think is a little bit on the reckless side. On the other hand, Putin's decision to bring in 10 to 12,000 North Korean soldiers may have also been a mistake too, because it strengthened President Biden's hand. But there's no doubt in my mind that that order will be rescinded as soon as President Trump comes in. But it's January 20th at noon. Between now and then, Joe Biden can do what he wants, and the world will be damned. So I think we have to watch this very, very carefully.
Republicans have slammed the announcement, with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene saying Biden is trying to start World War III right before he leaves office. She said on his way out of office, Joe Biden is dangerously trying to start World War III by authorizing Ukraine to use US long-range missiles into Russia. But Strategic Analysis Australia Director Michael Shoebridge says the announcement was pointless anyway, as it's too little too late to help Ukraine.
But Joe Biden, he looked completely on the outer at this that APEC meeting. Completely on the outer, looked like a finished figure. He's only got a couple of months to go and is looking so doddery. But he has finally done one thing. Now, some will say this is going to push the world closer to nuclear war. Others will say he's done it too late. Biden has given Ukraine permission to fire American-made long-range missiles called ATACMS into targets, or ATACMS, into targets inside Russian territory, up to 350 kilometres into Russia. And this is apparently Biden's changed his mind on this because North Korea has now sent 10,000 soldiers to help Russia's invasion. What does this decision do to this war?
Well, you're right, Andrew, that this is a late decision. So there's about less than 2 months left for Biden's administration now. Not a lot of time for the Ukrainians to take advantage of these of these ended restrictions. But this is just an example of the US and Europe doing things that are too little too late to help the Ukrainians. It took a year to decide to send tanks, a year and a half to send F-16 fighter jets. Here we are almost 2 years in, and some range restrictions are being lifted on these US ATACMS missiles. I think there's a good side. It's hopefully going to strengthen Ukraine's hand if there are actual negotiations to end the war next year. Better to end it from a position of strength. But really, this looks like Biden, it's reminding me of a primary school child who's trying to do a year's homework in the last week of term.
Sky News host Caleb Bond agrees, saying this escalation could have happened 2 years ago.
He could have allowed that to happen 2 years ago when the war started, right? So the argument that, we just want to make sure this war is ended by Ukraine winning doesn't wash, because you could have done that from the very beginning. They're also using the argument, now you've got North Korean troops in Russia, so it escalated even further. Well, you could have stopped the North Korean troops potentially from going in there if you'd let them fire those rockets 2 years ago.
And bizarrely, despite the announcement being released to the media, Joe Biden didn't want to talk about it, instead wandering off aimlessly into the Amazon and ignoring reporters' questions, reveals Sky News host James McPherson.
Last week, Donald Trump met Joe Biden in the White House, where they had quite an amicable meeting. In fact, Joe Biden looked quite happy to see Donald Trump, and Biden promised Trump that there would be a smooth transition of power. Well, now I'm not so sure, because this week Joe Biden has authorized Ukraine to use American missiles to strike targets deep inside Russia. 2 years this war has been going on, and Joe Biden waits until he's got just 2 months left in the White House to allow Ukraine to really take it up to the Russians. Trump had promised, of course, to end this war within a day if he was elected president. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted, "The military-industrial complex seems to want to make sure they get World War III going before my father has a chance to create peace and save lives. Got to lock in those trillions. Life be damned, imbeciles." Joe Biden was not making this announcement, though. While that was being announced, Biden was in Brazil at the Amazon jungle talking not about the Ukraine war, not about allowing American missiles to be fired deep into Russia, which could start World War III. No, he was talking about something much more important. That was the most bizarre way to finish a press conference.
Where is he going?
Wandered off into the jungle. We're not sure we'll ever see him again. Of course, it's prompted many, many memes. This was my favourite one doing the rounds today, imagining that it's an episode of Survivor and Joe Biden's just been voted the weakest link. That's not far wrong, Caleb, really?
No.
Tribes have spoken.
I wish he would just sort of disappear into the trees forever, though we should keep in mind we've only got a couple of months left.
Sky News host Liz Storer and Caleb Bond say the sudden escalation has nothing to do with Ukraine and everything to do with Biden's need to prove a point before Donald Trump takes over.
Those rockets 2 years ago, this smacks of Biden not wanting Trump to do what he couldn't achieve, which is to end this war. Trump has made it very clear that one of his first orders of business is to end this war, and Biden is now trying to make that as difficult as possible for Trump because he doesn't want to hand him the win or the admission that it was something that Biden couldn't do.
But you know that this has nothing to do with Biden, right? Biden has not been running the country his entire term, as we well know. So the really good question here is, hang on, who's made this call? While the president is getting around in the Amazon, literally shuffling around in the Amazon with his daughter Ashley, pontificating about climate change, who the heck has just made this potentially war-altering call here to say, yes, you can use US long-range missiles, which the Ukrainians, by the way, have no means or capability of doing. They will need American everything, not just the missiles themselves, but the technology and the people firing them. So this is a major call here. But the president is MIA. So again, who is running the Biden administration? This war kicked off under their watch, and you may be quite right. They're like, well, let's try and finish it in a grandiose, I don't know, flames. Let's just burn every bridge before the presidency is actually over. But in my humble opinion, this ought to be classified as I would go so far as to say treasonous. We have Trump, who's now president-elect, saying, I'm in the middle of peace negotiations here. And then you've got neocons, war hawks, somewhere within the Democrat bureaucracy saying, okay, now we're going to push the big red button, which, like you say, why has NATO, why has the US been drip-feeding resources for 2 years, over 2 years, when you could have just gone in strong far earlier and ended this thing? So here they are, potentially kicking off World War III, while Trump has promised peace. And by winning the election in such a landslide, the Americans have given him a mandate for that peace. You said you'd end the war with the Ukraine even before your inauguration day on January 20th. We voted you in a red wave, and now the Biden administration, these nameless, faceless bureaucrats, have decided to smash the red button.
And it seems an all-out war could very well be a possibility if Russian President Vladimir Putin's words are to be believed.
In the updated version of the document, Aggression against Russia by any non-nuclear state, but with the support of a nuclear state, is proposed to be considered as their joint attack on Russia. Russia will also consider the possibility of using nuclear weapons when receiving reliable information about a massive launch of means of aerospace attack and their crossing of our state border.